All right, welcome back for the second part of this video, or the second part of this um, swarf bracket, if you will. So we have to finish this side here up. So we got this whole side over here finished, and just to demonstrate that real quick, we're actually going to create a stock model so we can utilize that to get rid of some material here. So we're going to create a stock model. And we're going to change the color of this stock model. I like this like cyan color here, so we're going to pick that one. And I'm going to pick my stock setup. So basically, it's asking, this stock definition is asking what I'm starting with. So, what did I start with? Well, I'm starting with my stock setup, so whatever I set my stock to. And then, what am I removing from this stock model? Well, I'm removing all of these operations here. And I usually process ghosted operations. It doesn't matter here because I don't have any ghosted. But if you're doing multi-axis linking, which we'll get to in some other videos, it's good to press this, because if you don't, it sometimes will not actually create the stock model accurately. So just be aware of that. We don't need it for this window, so I'm just going to leave it off. Hit check. And it's going to make this stock model for us. Okay, so that is our stock model. So that's basically what we have up until now. If I turn this solid body off, that's what our part should look like at the moment, or roughly, basically. So it comes in a little rough. You can see it look like jagged edges. So it's just creating, your part's not actually going to look like that. It's just creating essentially a mesh is what it creates here. So we have to remove the rest of this material. We have to swarf this. So let's go ahead and start doing that. I'm going to turn my stock model off. So all you got to do is turn it off the same way you turn off a toolpath. And we need to create an OptiRough to rough this side out now. I am going to try and make sure I explain in great detail again how to do this, since I did not have the toolpath manager up on my screen that is recording. Because I'm an idiot and I forgot to slide it over because I have multiple screens. So I'll make sure I have it on the right screen this time. Okay, so let's go ahead, and the first thing I need to do is, we know I need to create a boundary. So I'm just going to go ahead and create that boundary a while. So I'm going to go to levels, and I have that, that's the avoid solid. So I have this contain. I call it a contain. I'm actually going to start fresh. So I'm not even going to use anything from that. We're going to call this contain 2. And apparently I have my cop block on. That's all right, though. Okay, and we're going to work on that. And we're going to get some edges from here again. And since I cut those other ones short, I don't even want to mess with trying to extend them. I'm just going to recreate these. And I'm actually going to do a modify lengthen. And I'm just going to lengthen this out a little bit here. Okay. Check. Go to top, and I'm going to connect these two. So I'm just going to create a line over to here and a line up to there. And hit check. There's my boundary. So I'm going to stay within that boundary when I do this. All right. Go to toolpaths, OptiRough. Okay, leaving 20 on floor, 20 on walls. We are going to leave that as is. I'm going to triple click my part. Okay. I'm going to go to my toolpath control. I'm going to pick my boundary chain here. Go ahead and hit check. And we're going to go from outside. We're going to keep it on center for now. I'm going to select my tool. And I want this flat end mill. Again, I'm not going to mess with any of these speeds and feeds. And I'll let them as is. By the way, when I picked my avoidance solid for the last one, let me just move this off a second. I promise I'll bring it back. When I picked my avoidance solid for that other side when we did it in the last video, this is where I added that. That's where I added my solid. So I just clicked here and I double clicked my solid to add that avoidance. Since I'm not going to be doing that this time, I wanted to show you where I did that. Okay, so we got our tool. Obviously the holder's already selected, so we're good with that. Since we created that stock model, let's use it. Let's do a rest. Actually, let's do it without, and then we'll add it and see if it makes much of a difference. Step over 20% is good. Step down 1 inch. Step up 0.1. I like all of that. We're going to turn this. Actually, we're going to leave that on. And we're going to leave that off for now. We'll see what happens there. All of this looks good. I think we're good to go here. So we're going to go ahead and check. Let's see what we get. Okay, that doesn't look too bad, to be honest. That's probably just fine. Now, you can see we do have, because I turned off that minimum, we have these paths that aren't doing anything up here. So let's go ahead back in. Let's turn off that minimum. Or turn back on that minimum, I'm sorry. Turn back on that minimum. And let's also see how adding the stock model. So I'm going to go to rest material, and I'm going to select one other operation, and I'm going to select my stock model. So basically what this is doing, it's Mastercam now sees your stock model. It says, okay, that's what I have left. Anywhere there's air, it won't create a toolpath for. So I'm guessing it will probably shorten this up a little. We'll probably get rid of a little bit here, but this doesn't extend too much into the air anyway, so I don't think it's really going to do a lot. So let's go ahead and check just to see. Now there's another reason. You might say, hey, why did you even create? Yeah, so as I suspected. So shorten this up a little bit, shorten this up a little bit, but it really didn't do a whole heck of a lot. It looks like it actually took a little bit off of here as well. But again, it didn't do a whole heck of a lot. Now we do have this here 2 layers, which we don't really want that at all. So let's take a look, see if we can get rid of that. Minimum depth. Actually, do that. See what we get out of that. Looks like I'm still cutting depth cuts there. Let's see what the toolpath looks like. So we're cutting that. We really don't want to be cutting that. So let's take a look at some of our parameters here. -0.7. Now that's going to machine everything away. We're not going to get our step ups. So also not giving us really what we want there. Okay, let's turn that off. Let's take a look at our cut parameters. Step up 0.1. Step down 1.0. Check. Okay, there we go. So there we got a little bit, or a much more efficient path. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now, the other reason I created this stock model, since it didn't really do a lot, it did a little bit, but didn't do a lot, I can start with this. So by selecting this stock model and then whatever's after it, this is how my verify will start. I don't have to go through all of those again. So it starts automatically with this. There we go. Now, you might be wondering what those are. Those are actually the holes in the part. So it can obviously dig in a little farther. That's why we have these little loop-de-loops. That's something we could fill these if we wanted, if we really were worried about that. If I was making a ton, excuse me, if I was making a ton of these things, I may worry about that. There's also in some of these toolpaths, there's some gap, so you can actually control how big like a gap is, and it'll just continue past it. This trimming, machine entire pass. that's not going to really do it. That's not going to do what I want it to do. I don't believe I have that option in here. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just missing it. Yeah. Yeah, so in your 3D milling and in some 5-axis pads, we have the ability to do that. I don't see that option in here. So we would have to, excuse me, we'd have to fill those. We'd have to fill those holes if we didn't want that. Again, not a big deal. I'm going to let those go for now. So I'm not really worried about that. So anyway, we got this roughed out. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And I'm going to turn off my avoid or contain to here. Get back to there. And now we are ready to do a swarf on this here. Now, let's see what we can do here. Let's see if, I'm not sure, but I believe that these lines are all good on this side. I don't think we have to worry about anything. So we're just going to go ahead in and we're going to pick a swarf. And we're going to pick our flat end mill. Again, I'm not going to worry about any of my speeds and feeds. Holder's good. Cut pattern. We are going to add all of our facets or surfaces here. Swarf clearance. This is just going to keep you away. So if I don't want to finish this right to size, I can actually leave some material on or go negative and take a little extra material off. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to leave that as is. We're going to finish this thing. Floor geometries, obviously that's going to be my floor geometry, and I'm going to show you something funky with that here in a minute. Okay, and we probably want to go a little bit negative. We probably want the tip of our end mill to go a little bit past. So let's just put a negative 0.1 in there. And the retract only, we can leave that as is. That's not going to hurt anything. Guide curves. So let's do our upper rail here. And I'm just going to pick this one. And walk that along and check. Lower rail. And check. Okay. All right, so we got our upper and lower rail here. We're going to auto detect the side orientation. This is just, what orientation. Just going to use WCS top. Side plane, I didn't really go into these in the last one, but the side, basically what side are we machining to? It's just going to auto detect. We'll leave that on there for now. It's not going to be right. At least I don't think it's going to come out right, and I'll explain why when we do it here. Direction, we want to climb mill. Lower curve is where we're going to guide the tool at, and start point's going to be automatic. Okay. And we already have it on shortest distance. We're going to turn this back to automatic legacy because it was still left this way because of my last path. We're going to make this 3. Cut pattern, we're going to make this 0.001. Now the reason I'm turning them back is because it takes more time to regenerate. And I don't want to spend that time regenerating if I need to come in here and make changes. So it should pop this out pretty quick, and it did. And we are off to the wrong side, as you can see. Okay, now why is it off to the wrong side? Well, the reason it's off to the wrong side is because the floor doesn't extend past. So it's assuming that if I'm selecting this as the floor, the end mill would contact that surface. If it's over here, it would never actually technically contact that surface. It would only contact a theoretical extension of that surface. So that's why. Now we can correct that. We can say, all right, well, maybe it opens. We can come in here and we can go, let's go to left. Okay, let's hit check. Okay, that worked, right? That's one that worked. There's other ones. So you saw a bunch in there. So left worked. Let's try inside. Okay, so that worked as well. It means outside would be the opposite and right would be the opposite. So they would both be the incorrect place. Okay. Now, something you may notice here is, if I go in here one more time, we have front side and back side. So if I pick front side, that's also correct. But something you may notice is that the tool isn't going low enough anymore. Notice it's only going, not even well, yeah, it probably is. Hold on. We'll move this along a little bit. It's essentially, this is the first pass. That's why we're doing double passes here. We still have it on multi-pass. I never took it off from the last one. So, but it's only going to the bottom of this surface. It's not extending that 100th thou pass. Well, that is because it can't see that surface anymore. You can't extend it past a surface that it can't see. So if you're at least put it this way, it doesn't work. I think I've got it to work before, but in this case, it's not working, and it usually doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a floor, and I'm going to do this really simple. I'm just going to create a rectangle, big rectangle, check, surfaces, flat boundary, create that flat boundary, check, and I'm going to grab everything on that floor, select all entities, I'm going to move it, tab, and we're going to make this 7. I added 100 thou to it, and hit enter, check, okay. So that's 100 thou below. Now I'm going to come back in and I'm going to change my floor. I'm going to make this 0 now because I added to the location of it. Hit check and hit enter. Okay, so notice, still not working, right? It didn't update it. All right, this is not uncommon. Now, how am I going to fix that? I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to create a new toolpath. Because it just doesn't want to update. I've run into this many a time. So if you can't get it to do it, if you can't get a toolpath to do something you want it to do and you're pretty sure you're doing it correctly, try deleting the toolpath and recreating the toolpath. And selection, floor geometries, right here. We'll do auto detect. Now we leave this on auto detect because it can see the floor now, so it should put it off to the correct side. And we're going to do the upper rail. Got to get in our solid feature, and one here. Lower rail. Alright, we still have this on shortest distance. We're going to turn this back because I want to see what happens and how we can adjust it. We are going to leave our lead-ins on. I know they're going to be fine. 0.001, tool axis control 3, and everything else. We'll leave our multi-cuts on. I see no reason to change that because we're going to add those back anyway. And we went over that in the front or the first video. Okay. So, still not getting it to go deep enough. Okay. Now, why is it not going deep enough? I just realized that I made a classic mistake. I did not need to recreate this toolpath. This was left on retract only. That needs to be changed back to drop retract. Hit check. And now it's deep enough. So basically I got a little hasty with recreating that toolpath just because I forgot that this drop retract wasn't on. But essentially what that'll do is it'll allow it to go below your lower rail there. So it'll allow you to drop down to where that surface, that floor surface is. So make sure you change that. All right, All that looks good. The only thing we need to change is this surface quality potentially, but let's see what our toolpath looks like here. Let's watch and see what these angles look like, our actual vectors that our toolpath's creating. A good bit of fanning there. Not terrible though. Honestly, that toolpath doesn't look bad at all. I probably wouldn't do much to that. I mean, we could try to adjust it a little bit, but I'm not terribly upset with that. Let's look at, see if we do shortest distance. We do 50 fanning. Let's take this to 0.0001, and we'll change this back to 0.5, and we'll hit check. Let's see what that one looks like. So you can see how we have much higher density of lines here. So this is going to give us a much smoother finish. And obviously that has a lot to do with our cut tolerance and also our angle, our minimum or maximum angle that we've changed. So that looks really good. Notice that you don't have as much fanning here. These tend to stay straighter now. So that looks really good. I'm pretty happy with that. And then we have the second pass here. So that looks good. I'm going to call that a day. And let's see what we've got. So roughing that away. Coming in, and we finish. So that looks like a really nice swarf finish there. So what I would call op 1 of our part is finished, and well, with the exception of the holes. But you know how to drill the holes. We learned that in the last video, or in the last lesson, I should say. You could just use your 5-axis drill and drill all those holes, and then your op is done. But aside from that, that's all there is for this video. And next video, what we're going to do is we're going to work on some different things, and we're going to look at some swarfs that aren't actually swarfs. So we talked about how it needs to be a ruled surface. So we'll get into all that, and we'll look at some more advanced stuff here. Okay, so see you in the next video.